Welcome to Cooking with Nikki. Today in my kitchen we'll be making some Belizean panades. I'll be making both fish and beans panades. Today I feel for some beans panades, so I have to throw that in there too. Let's get started. We're gonna start out by making the onion sauce because first of all we want this to marinate and soak well, just for it to have all the flavor of the vinegar and all the pepper in it. So before we start, we're gonna get this going. If you know that you're making panades from a couple days before or night before, I would suggest if you could make the sauce ahead of time. It tastes much better once it's set. All right, so what I have here in this bowl is 2 cups of chopped onions, and I usually rinse off the onions after I chop them with some cold water so that it doesn't have that very strong oniony flavor. I don't know if it works for everyone, but that's what I do and that's what I've always done. And I have 2 hot peppers here, some scotch bonnets. You could find habanero pepper, and the heat on these kind of vary, so you just have to be careful. If you find a very hot pepper, you just put like a little bit, or if you want it real hot, by all means go ahead. I have 2 small peppers here. I'm gonna put both of these in. I like it spicy, but smelling this pepper, it's spicy but it's not crazy spicy, so I think it's gonna work quite fine. All right, so I'm gonna put that in here. Next thing I'm gonna do is add some salt to it. I have like a teaspoon of salt here, a little, probably like a little bit less than a teaspoon, like a teaspoon, like 3/4 teaspoon or a half teaspoon of salt you could. Next, I'm gonna put, what I have here is a 1/4 cup of vinegar, white distilled vinegar. So we're gonna add that to the sauce here. All right. So next, I'm gonna add some water to this, just room temperature water. I have like a 1/2 cup of water here. I'm gonna be using all of that. All right. So we're gonna move on to making the masa. If you're located where you could find fresh masa, by all means, that's the best thing to use. But where I am, it's not readily available. So one of the things I always buy is this corn flour called Maseca, and I think you could find this almost anywhere in the aisle, the baking aisle. I believe you usually could find this, and there's a measurement on the back that says you have to use 2 cups to 1.5 cup of water. I sometimes make it a little softer than that, so I have 2 cups of water prepared and 2 cups of masa prepared. And I'm also gonna add some salt to this and some recado. I think this is one of the original ways of preparing the masa. You add a little bit of recado in the mix of it, and that gives it a lot of flavor as well. So I'm gonna start preparing the masa. I have 2 cups of Maseca measured. I have 2 cups of water. I more likely will not be using all of it, but I'll have it available. I have a piece of recado. I have some salt. So I am gonna add, I don't usually measure this. I go by taste. So once I have the measurements correct, I'm gonna put it in the description below. So that it's easier for you to follow. All right, so let's get started on that. First, what I'm gonna do is, the best way to get this incorporated into the Maseca is to add a little bit of water to it, and that's why I put on my glove, because this recado here could stain your hand. And if you don't have recado, just use some paprika. I just like the color of it, but but this recado does give a little bit of flavor. But if you can't find it, you could use some paprika, or I think you could find something on Amazon that is similar to this recado. I think it's called achiote paste. So you could order that as well to keep it on hand. it lasts a very long time because you use it sparingly. You don't need a lot, so it works pretty good for a lot of our Belizean ingredients, for our Belizean recipes, I should say. All right, so I'm gonna add this first to the masa, to the Maseca mixture, because we're making our masa. It's not masa yet until we incorporate it. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna add is a teaspoon of salt. I may or may not need more than that, but we'll see. So you know something? There are days when, you know, you get homesick, and you know, especially when you go up in another country, and for me it was Belize, right? This is one of the recipes or one of the meals that I enjoyed as a child. My mom used to always make this panades. She used to make panades to sell. I remember one time, you know, like I was pretty young, but she used to, I remember her just making panades, and she was making them so fast. I don't have that type of speed. She used to make at least, what, 500 panades a day. And my older brother and my older sister, I believe they used to go to the fish market and sell panades in buckets. And that's how my mom made, you know, did her thing on the side. You know, my dad was a fisherman, and he used to get the fish for her all the time. And back home, we used to use shark as the panades fish of choice. And she used to cook that so good. I'm telling you, when she seasoned that thing up, you don't even know that it's fish sometimes when you have all these nice seasoning and flavors in it. You can't be afraid to season your panades fish properly, because you know, once you add it to the corn and fry it, you want that flavor to pop through, right? So you can't be afraid to add seasoning. So yes, my mom used to make panades to sell, and I remember as a child I used to love eat. And I used to go, and for every 10 panades my mom fry, I used to eat one. My mom used to say, "Girl, you want to eat out my profit?" But I didn't worry about all of that. All I know that the panades was nice, and I used to eat that thing out, and I used to watch her make it, you know. And this is how I learned how to do, as I said, to do a lot of things that I make now. And I'm so happy that I was able to you know, to pick up those recipes and carry on the tradition of you know, with these Belizean niceties, I should say, you know. So I like it. This is a little bit too soft, but I'm gonna knead it a little bit more. But I like it soft enough, because when it's soft enough and you mash it out, and it blow up real nice. But if the masa is too stiff, you get a very heavy panades. But I want some nice light panades, so that's what we're going for. And if you take a look at this, I'm gonna add a little bit more Maseca, just to sprinkle in there, like this. See, that's a little bit to sprinkle. But it's still gonna be soft, but not like to the point whereby it's sticking up on everything. All right. All right. So I think that 1 teaspoon of salt for this 2 cups of Maseca is perfect. And you see the beautiful color that this have. If you're doing beans panades and fish panades on the same day, and you want to differentiate the taste, differentiate the panades, I would say omit the recado for the beans panades and add it to the one with the fish. So that then when you make it, you will see the color difference, and you will know, okay, this one is beans, this one is fish. You don't have to be breaking open all the panades to figure out which is which. So, well, that's what my mom used to do. If there's another way that other people can figure it out, let me know. I would love to hear. So the masa is ready now, right? We're gonna set this aside, and we're gonna prepare the fish. All right. So it is always good to have all the ingredients on hand and ready, so that you don't have to be, going to look for this and look for that, and then you forget to put in something. So just have everything on hand. You don't have to be shuffling about, and it helps the process quite a bit. All right, so I hardly ever measure. I'm gonna add some complete seasoning here. I'm gonna figure that is more or less about 2 teaspoons. I have some granulated garlic, some onion powder. I also have some no salt seasoning. This have a whole lot of herbs in it that I like as well. And then I have some black pepper. Just about a half teaspoon of black pepper. I'm gonna put as I said, I'm gonna put the exact recipe in the bottom below, based on what I believe you should season it. But you want it to not be salty, but you want to have that good. You want your fish to be seasoned properly. You don't want to have, salt and pepper won't do in this case. Sometimes the rule of thumb in making fish, if you have a fresh piece of fish, is lightly season it, right? But in this case, you want to season it very well. We're making what we call hash fish. My dad used to make, of course, he used to use fresh fish. He used to make hash fish in the morning and make hash fish sandwich. And I used to be up like 6 in the morning. He used to go to see me and him having breakfast before he go. I'm eating hash fish and cheese sandwich. Man, I'm telling you, that thing was so good. I used to always, I don't know why and how I used to always be around when there was food cooking. But I had a good nose for food and when good food is going on, and I was right there. And the best part about it for me is that I was able to watch my parents, not only my mom, but my dad also preparing stuff in the kitchen. I loved seeing how they, the passion that they put into their food. And that, I believe it or not, people always say, made with love. And that thing, if you add love to your food, oh man, that is the best ingredient ever. You can't make things any kind of way. You have to put your heart into it. You have to make food for people like you're making it for your own self, for your household. Because people want that love in their food. And that is what I do all the time. And I love sharing food. And it is just a part of me and what I grew up doing. Anyway, enough talking, and let me just show you how to make this fish. Like about a tablespoon of any oil that you have. Olive oil, vegetable oil, canola. But I'm telling you, I'm gonna boast. I get some nice coconut oil from back home. You still have the price tag on it too. I'm gonna add some of this to the pan. Oh, this is gonna smell so good when it starts cooking. As I said, about a tablespoon you add, and then you're gonna you let that heat up a little bit, and you're gonna add in your vegetables, the pepper and everything. Sometimes when you cook up these vegetables, the hot peppers in there, if it's really hot, it's gonna, because it's releasing the oil, it's gonna start like get a little, you're gonna start getting a little bit of tingle in your throat from the pepper that's cooking. But that's okay. Just open up a window, put on your vent or something, because it's well worth it to have that pepper in this fish. Alright, so take a look what's going on here. Alright, so we're gonna wait until the onion get nice and translucent a little bit, and then we're gonna add in the fish. So we're gonna let this cook down for a second. All right, so the onions are the right texture now, as you could see. Take a look at that. So we're gonna add the fish in. Okay. So I think this requires a little more seasoning. If you take a look at it, I want us to, before we do that though, I'm gonna squeeze some of this lemon in there. I'm gonna put the heat on medium. Alright, I think it needs a little more seasoning. But I'm also gonna add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce to this. Some more complete seasoning. Some more garlic. A little more onion. As I mentioned to you, we want this fish to be well seasoned. Alright, so I changed out the pan to a more shallow skillet so you could have a better look of what you need. And also, I think if it is more flat, it will allow this fish to brown a little bit better on the bottom. Alright, so that's the plan here. We're gonna have, you see how it's pretty wet? That's not what we want. We want the fish to be more of a drier texture. Alright, so we're gonna just let it, keep it on medium. Let it go for a minute. You watch it. It's gonna take altogether probably like 10 minutes to do. If you have a bigger batch of fish, of course it's gonna take longer. But you want to have you're basically gonna stir it and bring it to the top when it's brown. The pieces that brown, you stir it, bring it to the top. Stir it, bring it to the top. So I'm gonna leave this here for a minute. Let it go, let it brown nicely. You see how it's the texture has changed? It's a lot more drier. It's still moist, but it's a lot more drier. You take out some of that liquid and it's nice and caramelized. It's nice and brown. So this is what you're looking for. It's very flavorful, it's spicy, well seasoned. So this will be going into our panades. We're gonna allow this to cool for a minute before we start adding it to before we start making off our panades. So I'm not gonna go in detail in showing you today of how to prepare the beans, but I will tell you that it's really easy to do. You don't need to buy canned refried beans. However, I have nothing against canned whole beans. If you have canned black beans or red beans, I prefer black beans. But you could actually just cook it and season it up a little bit on the stove with some thyme, garlic, black pepper, maybe some other herbs like some cumin and whatnot. A little bit of adobo or some complete seasoning as well. So what we're gonna do with this to turn this into refried beans is we'll put this in the blender, or you could cut up some onions and sweet peppers and saute it in a little bit of oil on the stove, and you could mash this with a potato masher on the stove if you don't want it to be blended too finely. But you could blend this And do the same procedure. Cut up the vegetables, the onion and the sweet pepper, and saute it. And you add the beans to it and let it reduce. Let it come very thick, because that is what you're looking for when you're making panades, because you don't want that mixture to run out of the dough. So this is some that I have made. I usually keep this on hand because both my sons love beans and they would eat it with anything. So this is the texture you're looking for. This is what you're looking for when you come to beans panades. So you could just paste it in there, and it's such a good treat. If you're cutting meat for a moment, this is very good in protein. Beans is always a good substitute when it comes to omitting meat, or if you want to try something different, you know. All right, so let's get on to making these panades and seeing, you know, just to and so let's get started here making off these panades. I have the masa here. We're gonna ball off these in a little bit so that it's easier to just have them readily available to press them. All right, so we're gonna ball off some of these. All right, so we'll just go ahead and ball some of these off before we start assembling them. Then we have their panades fish, of course. We have some beans, and we have our tortilla press. Oh, this is a nice old one, but or panades masa, as we call it in Belize. All right. So what I usually do is cut up some bags. I usually get these same bags from the grocery store, the ones that are that they give you to put your fruits and vegetables in. I usually get a few of them and keep them on hand, and I cut them into some squares. You want to have them big enough so that the panades don't spread over the edges. You want it to stay within the perimeter of this square. All right, so we're gonna lay one down first. We put the ball in there, and you have to remember to put another plastic on top. Plastic is the best thing to use in this case. I've tried parchment paper already, but it doesn't work as good. So, or if you could just use cut up some Ziploc baggies. All right, so this is look how thin this is. It's really thin. So we peel off the top layer, right? We're gonna make a fish one first. We peel off the top layer. Take some of the fish. Put it right in the center. And then we're gonna fold it over. And if you've taken a look at what I'm doing here. So we're taking this right here, folding it over. We have a semicircle, right? Take a look at that, right? So we're gonna seal the edges by just putting a little bit of pressure around the edge. All right, and we have a perfect one. Don't worry if they don't have the proper shape and all that stuff. We know it tastes good. Don't worry about all that. Practice makes perfect. All right, so worry about the taste first thing. Next thing, we get the shape down. If you don't have that going as yet, that's okay. Let's try another one here. I'm gonna do another fish. So you could take a look at that. All right, so we cover it. Put one plastic down. We put the ball in the middle. Then we press it. All right, take a look at that. It stays inside the perimeter of the square, and that's what you're looking at. And we take this is about a tablespoon of fish. You put it in the middle here. You don't want it so much on the edges because you don't want this to come out the sides, because it's gonna burn when it starts to fry. So we seal the edges again, and there we go. All right, so next I'm gonna show you I'm going to show you one of the beans one, the beans panades. But I'm going to keep it separate because I did not, I made one set of dough. Remember what I told you in the beginning? That if you are making beans and fish panades on the same day, what I usually do to differentiate the two is don't add any recado, or, you know, to the masa mixture, and just keep the corn looking, you know, white, so that you could know, okay, these are the beans beans panades. All right, so with the beans, you won't need a lot at all. You just put a little bit in the middle there, because this one right here tends to want to seep out if you put too much in it. All right, so we put a little bit right there. A little bit more. Let's put a little bit more. I think we'll get away with a little bit more right there. All right, we do the same technique. We fold over and we seal the edges. Man, I haven't made these beans panades in a very long time. Lately I've been doing fish panades a lot more, but I could easily tell you that the beans panades is my favorite, personal favorite. So it's a must try. Again, if you need further instructions on how to prepare the beans, please let me know, and I'll gladly give you some hints on how to do that. All right. So I'm gonna make off a few more of these, and we're gonna fry them up. Oh, let me keep that separate. And I'm gonna show you how we fry these, and then we're gonna look at the end product. Okay. So let's preheat some oil so we could fry these panades. All right. So let's test out this oil to see if it's hot enough. I took a piece of the masa, and we're gonna put it in here. All right. You see that? It floats to the top. So it is ready. All right, let's take it out before that stay in there and burn. All right, and make sure you have something to drain these on once you're done. I get a baking sheet and on a wire rack, and I put a paper towel on top. That actually helps to sap up a lot of the oil that is in these after it's finished frying. Okay. I'm so excited for these. These are to show you how these fry. They look so good. Oh man, I almost tore this one. We had a perfect one, and okay, I got it. It's back. Let's put that in. That's 1, 2. And you keep them in the plastic until you're about to fry them. That helps a lot to keep them together. All right. You take a look at that. You see how they're getting like fluffy. That's partly why I said that when we make the dough, we don't want the dough too stiff, because when the dough is too stiff, it doesn't allow it for the air to get into it when it's frying. Let me move my hand out of the way so you can take a better look of what's going on here. These are getting nice and golden brown. That's what we're looking for. We have a couple of these on the fry for like about 3 to 4 minutes. You have to have the oil at the right temperature. You don't want this to be soaked up. You see it's still bubbling, but it's not burning. So it's like medium-high heat is what we have the oil on. All right, so let that go a little more. Almost done. Oh, I know y'all must be looking at my pot. Oh man, I've had this pot for some years now. You see how the outside is black? Man, but this is one of my favorite cooking pans, so it's okay. I like it. I know we all have our favorite stuff in the kitchen. So these are done. Put them on here to drain. All right, and then we're done. We're gonna finish fry out the rest, and then we're gonna taste them. All right, So now it's time to try this panades. I have my onion sauce ready. And let's try the fish one first. All right, just open that. You see that? So good. Oh, I'm a little bit scared of this this pepper sauce, this onion sauce, because I see the seeds from the pepper in here and everything. I may have been overly ambitious and putting too much pepper in here. Let's see if I can handle it. That's really good. Y'all need to try this panades. Let me know what you think. And enjoy. Let me open up the beans one so you can take a look at it. This is the beans one right here. These are pretty good. As I said, the beans one is my favorite. Enjoy. Let me know how it goes. All right, thank you. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel.